I'm going to talk about part of the critical chain, or the way we do it. Okay, I'm Philip Marius. I've been doing this for many, many years, and I guess one of the particularities is that I do what I call OpenTOC. That's to say, theory constraints plus Lean plus Six Sigma plus TRIZ plus Agile plus DDMRP plus whatever. Okay, so the main thing about critical chain is setting up fever charts and running projects the critical chain way. I'm not going to talk about that today. Okay, you have how many here are experts in critical chain? You can decide for yourselves whether you are. Right. So for those who want more information about critical chain, you've got eminent author of one of the best books. Anyway, and for those who want the very short book version, there's a bookmark that's been handed out. Okay, I'm going to talk about what you can do, what we're doing when we start a project while we're implementing critical chain, which takes a few days, a few weeks, a few months, depending on the organization and where it is as a starting point. But immediately we do something using the 5 focusing steps, and it gets very strange results. That is what I want to talk about today. Okay, just to get everybody on the same page, in critical chain environments with portfolios, you have 2 different dimensions of constraints. Each project has a constraint. That constraint is its critical chain. Okay, you win or lose a day on that critical chain. The project loses or wins a day, right? It is the constraint of the project. But in a portfolio environment, those are going through resources. And you have another dimension of constraint, which is a capacity constraint somewhere in the system, somewhere in the resources. Okay, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. I know that in some cases you're going to say, but there are no bottlenecks in my project portfolio. We're doing this a lot, and we're finding bottlenecks very often, especially in new product development. Why? Because it's so easy to make up new workload. I have a new product, whatever. So they just keep going until there's 3 times too much work, and they're big bottlenecks. Okay, there are some environments without bottlenecks, but new product development, for instance, has significant bottlenecks. Okay, so off we go. What do we do? Step 1, identify. In a factory, trying to find a bottleneck with the data in the ERP system is not very pertinent because the data is wrong and stuff. In a project environment, all the data is so wrong, forget it. Okay, so what you do, you just go in there and find the biggest queue. Okay, often in project environments, it can be hidden in computers, or it can just be piles of paper. You'll see a few examples. Okay, as long as you've got it in your mind to find the queue, you will find it. It's not that difficult, truly. It's an immaterial world, but you'll find it. And if you do that and apply what we're presenting, you can multiply by 2. This is our experience, 100% of our experience. You multiply by 2 or by 3 the throughput, the productivity of the whole system. I say it's the 5 focusing steps. It's not. This is high-speed 5 focusing steps. It's 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5. You identify the constraint. Once you've identified it, you exploit it better. And because you can get it to do twice as much in one day, the bottleneck goes to somewhere else. So you use 5. Where's it gone? Go back to 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5. And you can do this very fast. That's what we're doing. So a few examples. This is the world leader in luxury goods, new product development. We have a look. Where's the queue? We find it in the person defining the bill of materials for new products. And we find 5 months of work there out of a 15-month process. Stupid, right? We do a day in the life of, let's just say I get one of my consultants just to sit next to them all day and note down what they do. Okay? And in this case, which you'll see is quite frequent, in fact, they're only spending 30% of their time actually working on that, but they have a lot of other stuff, wasting time in various forms. Okay? So what do? We talk to them, we protect them, we build a wall around them so that they can work better. And in this case, immediately we got 100% more throughput, right, twice as much. And within a month, by delegating work off to other people, we got another 70%, so 170% in a month, right? If you do that, we haven't yet done critical chain. We haven't done any kind of subordination. We haven't done any kind of freeze. But there's so much flowing through now, coming out, that a work in progress, number of projects drops. And in this case, in 5 months, they dropped lead times by 77%, just because a lot more was coming out, right? The number going in hadn't changed, but they were getting 3 times more out. Second iteration, right? 1, 2, 5, go back. The next one was again in a city place, purchasing. The people who had to find purchasing parts for prototypes, new products and stuff. So quite a lot of discussion, find the supplier, negotiate the thing, whatever. That was the second bottleneck. Same system, another 60%. Okay? Third iteration, we're in it right now. It's now a machine that actually makes the prototypes. It's a CNC machine, very sophisticated, and we're buying another one. Okay, that's where we are today. But so far, in a very short period of time, we've done plus 100, plus 70, plus 60 equals plus 230. That's 3.3 times more projects coming out of the system. Okay. Another one I'll go through in just 20 seconds. The new product development in a pharmaceutical company. People mistake where their constraint is and where it should be. So when I went in, they said, shh, it's our thinkers. They're 19 research scientists, the best in the world. Shh, and when we go in, don't disturb them, they're working. Okay. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. That's where it should have been. It was, in fact, a team of much less experienced people doing the industrialization. How do I produce the drugs? Okay. And once we found that, we hired a few more people, and we got 200%. A small organization, 250 people, in one of the top 15 pharma companies making medical devices. They were using critical chain for their improvement projects, 22. When we did the calculations, worked out where the constraint was. It was just one person in the IT department, and when we looked to see what they did silly stuff like taking care of badges. I lost my badge. They would phone up this person. That person was determining the future sales of the company. And they were wasting time doing badges. So we reorganized things, got 80% more, and we're going to, whatever. By the way, Deborah Smith said it on day one beautifully, watch out for the gorilla at the gate called IT. Right? In various forms, whether it's capacity or decision making, IT is nearly always slowing companies down. And the big bad one is not finance anymore, it's IT. Another company, 300,000 people, one of their factories, very well known. They're in an engineering to order environment. They make gearboxes that go, for instance, between a gas turbine and a generator and a power station and all those sorts of things. So gearboxes the size of a bus that have to run for many, many years without failing. You can see the guy there. Right. So these are big objects that have to spin around for a long time without failing and without wear and tear. The metal doesn't touch, it's all floating around on oil. So these things run around at 20,000 RPM without any wear and tear. They're extraordinary. I'm an engineer and I just love those things. Anyway, they had the bottleneck in designing these things, and when we started, they had 90 in WIP, 50 weeks to design, 1.8 projects coming out every week. Okay? So, we looked to see what they were doing. And they were in massive multitasking or panic mode, okay? Before you think that you're not like that, this is just not the norm for us. We just happen to measure it, right? And so on average, the team of 15 people were switching tasks 60 times a day. That's 7 minutes per task. And of course, making sophisticated machines. When you get back to the machine you haven't touched for 2 weeks and think, what was the problem again? There was something to do with the tolerance of blah, blah, blah. So not only were they being slow, they were getting lots of mistakes. The bill of materials had lots of problems. They had quality problems, productivity problems. It was madness. And it's just the normal world today, right? So we just used one of their rules that they already had called start finishing and stop finishing, came from the IT department. And that's what we did. We stopped stuff going in and we just told them to concentrate on things getting out. Since they did that, they started working on their work in progress and flushed it out, right? So they started finishing all the projects that had been there for 20 weeks and so forth. So there was a lot of stuff half done, so they could do that. So while they were flushing, they went up to 8-week, 4 times 4 throughput. And once the system was in steady mode, it was at 4.2, right? Which is 130% increase in throughput. Right now, that's 2016. The project continues. They're at 6. Per week, and they're in, among other things, oil and gas industry. All their competitors are dead. They're doing fine. That's the drop in WIP, again, mostly to do with increase in output compared to input, because, sorry, I didn't explain. The green bars are orders coming in, right? So the orders kept coming in. The blue line is the designs going out of the design office, right? So they were flushing out the system. So that's it. To conclude, I love the theory of constraints. Within the theory of constraints, I love critical chain quite particularly. But as far as I'm concerned, that's just the beginning of a journey, because all critical chain does is a management system of flow in projects, right? It just makes sure that your projects go fast, finish on time, and you do more, right? But that's not sufficient, because in most companies I'm going to, for instance, in new product development, they're not even doing good products and good projects anymore, right? They're so stuck with getting the thing out the door. They're not worrying about, is it going to be easy to manufacture that new product? I didn't have time to talk to production. All that sort of stuff. So for me, critical chain, in fact, is just the thing that gets rid of the madness and enables you to get on with what you should really have been doing, is doing beautiful products and beautiful services through projects. Okay, whether it's lean or any other thing, but that's my passion. So just a starting block, really, critical chain. Finally, another important point is, I got you, Kathy, Ellie said quite rightly that the goal, I won't get into discussion whether that's completely true or not, the goal is to make more money now and in the future, right? As far as I'm concerned, that means a company has two constraints simultaneously in the system, one that defines the capacity to make money now, somewhere in operations, and one that defines the capacity to make money in the future, and that can be, for instance, in new product development portfolios, okay? So if you put this in a critical chain on these sorts of things, you're basically building a much better future for yourself. So it's that important. It's not just a question of the efficiencies of the people and stuff. You're more rapidly building a powerful future with growth and stuff. Okay, and so that's it. So I've been talking about the 5 focus steps. I regret not being able to describe critical chain, but if you put them all together, you get this sort of thing, right? You've seen it in the examples. 2 or 3 times more out. 70% or 50 to 80% is our experience on lead time reductions. Nearly finishing all your products on time. As far as I know, that's now a world record in South Africa. Aerosud, 98% on time delivery of in new product development in aviation. They failed 1 out of the last 40 projects, and it was only 2 weeks late, but that's it. Okay, so you can either carry on failing with your projects, or you can implement critical chain, and you get all that stuff. Have a nice day, and a rest of the conference.